Hello and welcome to Newsround, the current affairs bulletin that tackles the issues around the aerospace, aviation and defence industries in the Middle East, Africa and South Asia. I'm Mark Pilling. Regular viewers will note a difference this week, as regular presenter Alan Peaford will be giving us the news headlines from across the regions. Marcella Nethersole takes a break from that news desk to look at how vaccine rollouts are being adopted by airlines to speed up recovery. Neelam Matthews talks to the former executive director of Air India about why the carrier is failing and what lies ahead with the privatisation. And sticking with India, there are suggestions that India could become the next global aircraft leasing and finance hub. I talked to the Apex Group about that and other areas of aviation finance. So before the news headlines, let's get an important message from our sponsor about a major defence event just 11 months away.
Well, welcome back. And here are those news headlines for our industry across our emerging market regions. The first full step of what will be a giant leap for womankind in the Arab world was taken this week. The UAE's Mohammed bin Rashid Space Centre named mechanical engineer Noura Al-Matroushi as one of 4 Emiratis selected for the country's first astronaut programme, becoming the world's first female astronaut. She joins police helicopter pilot Mohammed Al-Mullah, Hazza Al-Mansouri and Sultan Al-Nayadi on the programme. As part of a joint strategic agreement between the UAE and the USA, the 4 astronauts will train at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. The virtual Africa Travel Week took place last week and reinforced calls for the aviation industry to work closer with the tourism industry in order to bring more tourists and much needed revenues to the continent. Kenya's Cabinet Secretary responsible for the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, Najib Banala, said the connectivity was the key to success.
First of all, there's a disconnect between aviation and tourism. That's the problem. And we don't appreciate the role of aviation in bringing the numbers of tourists in the continent of Africa. We only have 63 million tourists who visit the continent of Africa. And why? You ask about why. Is connectivity. We in Kenya, we are the airline hub as Nairobi. That's why probably we are much advanced in tourism than most of the African countries. So yes, connectivity is fundamental. And I want to agree with Madam Adeyemi, is that maybe this is a wake-up call for the continent of Africa, because you have seen the figures. We are always negative in terms of minus, in terms of profitability. Yeah, probably this is a wake-up call, because we've never contemplated that one day the world will be closed down. When the world is closed down, then we have to work within the neighborhood.
The live event will take place in Cape Town in September. Now, although some Boeing 737 Maxes have been regrounded in the USA, Dubai carrier Fly Dubai has returned its fleet back to service and said in a statement that the electrical fault that's affected the American carriers does not affect its aircraft. The airline had carried out rigorous tests and additional training and briefing for its crews following the go-ahead from the regulator, the GCAA. COVID-19 may have sharply reduced Indian air travel in 2020, but the country's domestic passenger traffic is recovering more rapidly than in most other countries and regions. Boeing is forecasting India's demand for more than 2,200 new airplanes valued at nearly $320 billion over the next 20 years, and it makes it the 3rd largest airline market in the world. Qatar Airways has opened a new state-of-the-art engine facility as part of its plan to streamline technical maintenance costs by more than $2.2 million a year. The new building centralises engine production and parts storage and increases the number of production lines from 4 to 8 and can house some 80 engines of various sizes in a temperature and humidity controlled environment. An Egyptian flight from N'Djamena to Cairo had to make an emergency landing at Aswan Airport to check on the safety of a Chadian passenger and her newborn baby boy after she gave birth safely on board with the help of a medical student. Textron has delivered a Bell 505 helicopter equipped with the Medpac Emergency Medical Services light interior to Bar Aviation. This is the first 505 in Uganda and the first Bell 505 designed to complete medevac missions in the whole of Africa. In defence, Qatar's Emiri Air Force is expanding its defence partnership with the UK's RAF and will see a joint Hawk Typhoon training squadron formed at a Yorkshire air base in England. The agreement will also enable regular RAF Voyager deployments to Qatar to provide air-to-air refuelling training operations. The UAE has seen a doubling in the number of business jet flights during the Easter break in 2021 compared to 2019. Overall, the Middle East is seeing more than 30% traffic than they did in spring 2 years ago. One aircraft you won't be surprised to see amongst those greater numbers is Textron's 560XL, the mid-sized jet like this one here, Cessna Citation XLL Plus, and they had the 1,000th delivery of that best-selling jet last week. And good news in the push for sustainability. Bahrain's flag carrier Gulf Air operated its first ever transcontinental lower emission flight last week on a flight from Helsinki in Finland to Bahrain using the airline's flagship Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner. And finally, as we wish Ramadan Kareem to all of our friends and viewers, Dubai's executive aviation specialist JetX is offering the world's first exclusive iftar experience in the skies above the UAE. A chauffeur-driven Rolls-Royce will take 6 guests to the steps of a luxury Gulfstream jet before taking to the skies for a 90-minute aerial tour above all 7 Emirates while serving a 25-dish iftar meal prepared in association with the Bulgaria Hotel. After landing, there are desserts in the JetX FBO, and it costs around $3,000 per person, with JetX donating some of the proceeds to local good causes. Well, back to you then, Mark, and I'm pretty keen and dreaming about that iftar meal.
Thank you, Alan. What a great way to make iftar a memorable event in these difficult times. Now, you might have thought we had a COVID-free news programme for you this week, but sadly not. Despite the best efforts of the airlines and the airports and the respective associations to get a global view on how to bring international travel back, it seems many governments want to work in isolation with their own solutions. Well, the airline industry is certainly pushing its view, as Marcella Neversol discovered.
Airlines have taken committed steps to ensure that they're COVID safe throughout the pandemic. And now, apart from delivering vaccines around the world, some of the leading carriers are now jabbed and ready to go. This week, Jazeera Airways confirmed that all of its flights would now be crewed by vaccinated staff, with the final cabin crew getting the needle on Tuesday. Emirates and Etihad have also achieved fully inoculated crew. But Qatar Airways has gone one better, with the world's first flight with fully vaccinated crew and passengers. Akbar Al-Bakr, CEO, explains more.
This flight today is a significant milestone in the recovery of aviation, with all crew and passengers on board fully vaccinated. Travelers can be reassured that the industry is doing all it can to ensure their safety and security on the ground and in the air. The world's first fully vaccinated flight is a clear demonstration of all the measures that Qatar Airways has put in place to ensure the highest standards of safety and hygiene on board. PPE for staff, a zero-touch in-flight entertainment system, UV cabin cleaning systems, disinfectant robots, and the IATA Travel Pass trial, all resulting in us being the first global airline in the world to achieve the prestigious 5-star COVID-19 airline safety rating by Skytrax. Our home here at Hamad International Airport is also the only airport in the Middle East and Asia region to receive the airport 5-star COVID-19 airport safety ratings. To provide further reassurance to travelers, we are also vaccinating over 1,000 staff members each day to ensure their safety and offer peace of mind for passengers.
But while airlines may be making the move in the right direction, they are still hitting barriers to freer travel from governments with different requirements and regulations. Kamil Al-Hawadi is the new Regional Vice President for IATA across the Middle East and Africa. He believes getting governments to talk to each other and avoid this great disconnect is a top priority.
The only way you're going to get everybody on board is when we have a standard, which ICAO did, with, of course, working with the organizations such as IATA and WHO and so on. Having everybody on the same platform first, then airlines can work. And the disconnect remains massive within this region. Okay, EU is moving towards a unified process, but the disconnect remains massive. And getting my top priority now is getting the stakeholders in each state to first of all meet internally and accept a standard that will be applied within the region and hopefully, globally.
In the meantime, airlines continue to reassure passengers that they are fully ready to resume.
The message for travelers is that we are working tirelessly to implement every measure to safeguard their health.
And Emirates, of course, are always happy to go big on the messaging. With the UAE having vaccinated more than half of the entire population, the Gulf state wanted to celebrate and encourage others. And how better than at the side of an A380? Let's hope that helps get the message across soon. This is Marcella Nethersole for TATV Newsround.
Thanks, Ella. Now, at a time when many legacy carriers are planning on revival and indeed reinventing themselves, in India, the national carrier is having to do more. Founded in 1932 as Tata Airlines and taken over by the Indian government, Air India could be coming full circle with the Tata Group, one of two bidders for the loss-making carrier along with its debt of $9 billion. Budget airline SpiceJet founder AJ Singh, in his personal capacity, is the second bidder. Our correspondent Neelam Matthews reports from New Delhi.
Yes, Mark. Losing around $150 million a day, it is hardly surprising that the Minister of Civil Aviation, Hardeep Singh Puri, has promised the privatisation of the national carrier. It's planned to be completed by the end of June this year, but with COVID, we think it may be pushed a little bit back. The Tata Group, as the likely candidate, will have a major issue to address. It will have 4 airlines to handle: Air India and its subsidiary, Air India Express, Budget AirAsia India, with which it has a JV, and Vistara, a full-service airline, which it is again in a joint venture with Singapore Airlines. We have with us the former executive director of Air India, Jitender Bhargava, whose book Descent of India, written in 2013, received applause and brickbats. Jitender, you obviously saw this coming 8 years ago. What led to the descent of Air India?
See, Air India was once an iconic airline of India, known globally for its standard of service. Then over the years, the service standards dropped and it was gasping for breath, needed periodic infusion of funds. And if you were to recount the factors that led to its decline, the descent, then I think, as I said, you need a full book to write. But let's put it this way. One, of course, are the factors. Then there's the inefficient work culture, lack of accountability. Now, government can have anybody appointed on the board, whether they have the requisite experience or not. The chief executives can come and go. The senior management wouldn't really go because they have a work culture where the aptitude does not matter, attitude does not matter, competence does not matter. The only thing matters is the length of service for rising up the hierarchy in the airline, So there are a lot of factors which are responsible for Air India's descent.
Thank you. Do you think that privatization will take place by the end of this year, given the resurge of COVID in India?
There are 2 factors to it. The government is trying to sell or disinvest Air India. But they have gone wrong from stage 1. They put it in public domain that we want to disinvest Air India because it has large debt, it has huge losses. That's hardly a way to sell a product in the market or to entice some potential customer to come and buy you. The Air India has a lot of strengths. The tragedy is the politicians and the bureaucrats in the ministry are not aware of the intrinsic strengths of Air India, which could be highlighted and said, look, we are offering you Air India with X amount of market share, which you will take 10 years to reach. Let's put it this way, if Indigo was to get in or Vistara was to get in on international operations, they would take no less than 10 years' time. So look at the opportunity cost. Look at the value that you get. Vistara, Indigo are still not counted among the mega carriers of the world. If only they had acquired Air India or they acquire Air India, they get catapulted into the mega league. Look at the advantage. And you have a ready-made product flying to United States, Europe, Australia, Japan, etc., everywhere.
Great. And one issue that it's often been said that Air India is overstaffed. How do you reckon the new owners will handle the excess flag?
You see, having known the airline, I would strongly contest this phrase, hugely overstaffed. Air India is overstaffed to a certain extent because the productivity levels are low, inefficient procedures are still in vogue in the airline. But let's not forget that as a government airline, it has certain recruitment norms, it has certain work culture, it has certain departments which no other private airline has, a vigilance department, a department to promote Hindi language, a department to answer questions of members of parliament that are raised. Now, these kind of manpower add to the total strength. The staff members who are not related to flying or maintenance of aircraft will retire in the next 5 years. Now, so you are not going to be transferring a large burden of manpower, and not all of them are inefficient or unproductive. Please remember, a lot of work practices can be re-engineered. A lot of people have the capacity to learn and become as good as anybody else. If you look at the plus side and the minus side, Air India in its current avatar, with all its debt and losses, is a very sound proposition for an airline if you know how to go about it, the benefits that it gives you as a mega international airline with a ready-made business on the platter.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Bhargava. Great inputs. It's sad, but a reality. More so in these disruptive times. The once iconic Maharaja of Air India will soon be no more. The process of privatization is now coming to a close, but we hope to be reporting soon about a new lean and mean Air India in its new robes. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Neelam. It's sad, but as you say, it's a reality that the other legacy carriers are having to address, as we heard from South Africa in our last bulletin. Let's hope the rebirth is soon. Now, while we talk a lot about the airlines and airports, we don't talk so much about the finance, and we're going to change that now. India is expected to become the third largest aviation market in the world, and I'm very pleased to be joined today by Mandar Mhatre, the Chief Executive of Apex India. Apex is a really massive global financial services company. It's got 45 offices worldwide, managing billions for its customers. It's active in aviation finance. And Mandar, welcome. I hear there's a great air finance story brewing in India. What is it, please?
Absolutely. So Indian government is looking to promote India as an aviation financing hub, primarily on the back of the growth which is expected over the next 20 years. India is expecting 6x growth in passenger traffic, which effectively equates to about 2,300 to 2,500 new aircrafts, which are expected around the line. And what India is hoping to do is to promote GIFT City, which is the International Finance Service Center, as an aviation leasing hub. With it effectively looking to kill three birds. One, to create employment locally. Number two, to make and to promote the GIFT City. And number three is to domesticize the aviation leasing business into Indian markets.
Thank you, Mandar. Just for clarity, viewers, GIFT is the Gujarat Finance Tech City, India's first greenfield smart city for industrial services. So, Mandar, there are already several great successful air finance hubs in Ireland, in Singapore. What's going to make India stand out?
So from an Indian perspective, given the growth which has been there and given the risk which is there with the US dollar market, India wants to really take out that USD appreciation risk over a period of time. And it has picked up a leaf or two from Chinese market and is looking to develop that market in-house. What India will probably bring to the table is, apart from the international leasers, to bring the domestic capital into play. So they are encouraging the local banks, the local pension funds and local insurance firms to invest in INR into these markets. So the couple of things which Indian government is looking to do. One is it's looking to benchmark most of the global best practices into the Indian market. Secondly, from a taxation perspective, it is harmonizing all the taxes. It's looking to harmonize the GST related taxes. In the recent budget, it has made a couple of announcements. It is making capital gains completely exempt from taxes, as well as it is also looking to exempt lease income from taxes, which will effectively make it on par with Irish jurisdiction in terms of leasing.
Mandar, thank you very much. Clearly, there are big ambitions for what is such a large and fast-growing market. Well, that's all we have time for this week. Do take a look at our websites, arabianaerospace.aero and africanaerospace.aero, or visit our YouTube channel, find it under Times Aerospace, where there's a full-length interview with the acting CEO at Gulfair about the boutique airline strategy. It's a good watch. And then there's also a fascinating spotlight on new missiles and anti-drone equipment from the UAE's defence giant Edge. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time, and in the meantime, stay safe.